Or Ron turning on the recording for folks to be aware that this meeting is recorded. So welcome back, everyone, from a summer break. Lots of things happened, and here we are back again at the start of another school year. I'd like to first acknowledge that our meeting this evening on the traditional territory of the Snawas and Qualicum First Nations, and we thank them for their stewardship of the lands and allowing us to live, work, and play in this beautiful part of Vancouver Island. We are blessed for sure. To begin, can't see him on screen. We've had regrets from Ray Warnock, who is the new DPAC president, says he'll be joining us in September. And then we have a new staff person who's joined the senior staff at the district office, Ryan Brennan, as our district manager of human resources. But I may have missed him, but if he comes on, I will definitely introduce him to folks then. It's hard, though, in little squares to see everybody.
He just joined the meeting.
He just joined. Ryan, where are you hiding? Where are you hiding?
Hi, everyone.
Nice to have you with us, Ryan. I can't see you on my screen. I don't know why. But anyway, welcome aboard to Qualicum School District, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
And you have a great in-depth experience from other districts around the province as well. So I know you bring you'll bring lots of new ideas to our little district here that we're very proud of. Could I have trustees, please, a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as circulated? Moved. Trustee Kurland, seconded Trustee Austin. All those in favor? Carried. And approval of the consent agenda for this meeting of August 27th. So move Trustee Kellogg, seconded please. Trustee Austin, all those in favor? Carried. And we are honored this evening. I see in our participants for our squares, Chief Rakalma, welcome. And our district principal, Indigenous Education, Katie Marin, who are going to bring us up to date on Bill 40, which is very critical and important work for the district to manage over the next while. And I know Katie, though, has been managing it for a while already with our superintendent and work with our nations that we so find valuable our relationship with them. And moving forward with Bill 40 is an integral part of that. So, Peter, Superintendent Jory, any further objections, or I'll turn it over to Ms. Marin and Chief Rakalma. Welcome.
I'm sure they are absolutely ready to go. Thank you, Chair Flynn. Ms. Barron, do you have the presentation ready to go, or would you like somebody else to pop it up for you?
Do you want to pop that up for me, Peter? Okay, awesome.
You have to give me a moment.
Of course, we'll do a quick introduction first. Okay. Good day, everyone. Antapa, Katie Marin, Nisquish. My name is Katie Marin. I'm the district principal of Indigenous Education here in Qualicum School District.
I'm Michael Rakalma, like the Chief of First Nation. My ancestral name is Muggleese, and thank you very much for being here this evening.
And I believe that Patty Edwards from Snawas is also here as well. And so Patty, are you there? Do you want to say hello? Maybe she's listening. In any case, once the presentation's up, we're going to run through it fairly quickly. I know that we're going to go more in depth at Ed Committee, but like you said, Eve, this is really important work, and I'm really grateful to be here with Chief Rakalma, members of Snawas as well, because I'm not the knowledge holder of this work definitely, but I thought it was really important to bring some of this forward, share where we're at in this work, and
I think it should be noted the fact that, of course, this is new to all of us. The Florida was just introduced last school term, so it's going to be a learning curve, a steep learning curve for all involved.
I'm just going to check to see that this is what we're looking at. I have a little box in the corner with Chief Rakalma and Katie, and then the presentation's up on my screen. Is it on yours?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay. Next slide, please.
Well,
I don't know if I can do it. You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to.
well,
to-
I pressed the button. Hang
Didn't
on a
work?
second. Well, just a moment. I got to switch screens here again, and I'm sure I can get it to go. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so this information, we've gotten a lot of information over this past year, all of us have. And so what we've tried to do is collate it all. We keep getting more and more information kind of every meeting that we go to. So I've tried to collate it all as best we can. And I'm sure moving forward as we have updates, we'll share those as well. So there's been legislative amendments. And so some of the changes are, first, the purpose of the Indigenous Education Council is for the advocacy of all Indigenous students. That includes First Nation students, Métis, and Inuit, through giving advice on programs, services, and achievement. The IEC will advise on integration of Indigenous worldviews, particularly local First Nations. And local First Nations members will advise on their distinct languages, cultures, traditions, practices, or histories. Next. IECs are required, Indigenous Education Councils are required in all 60 school districts across the province. The approval of targeted funding, so that's the funding that I work with and oversee, that's generated by Indigenous students. The Indigenous Education Council needs to approve the targeted funding. IECs are not committees of the board, they're their own council. Board trustees and employees cannot be voting members, but.
And if I'm not mistaken, they cannot come to the meetings. They may appear on invite only.
Correct. So setting up an Indigenous Education Council, 2 members from each of the First Nations in whose territory the board operates. So 2 members from Qualicum First Nations, 2 from Snout-Nawas. Right now, currently, we have Chief Rakalma and Carrie Reed from Qualicum, Patty Edwards, Mallory Bernard, and Barb Baltrop from Snout-Nawas. After seeking advice from each local First Nation, a board may appoint additional persons who bring relevant perspectives. So the Indigenous Education Council is meant to represent the student body in our district. So the local First Nations will take a look at that student body and perhaps bring other additional persons on side, members of the Métis Association, etc. Local First Nations members should not be outnumbered on the Indigenous Education Council. Next slide. Targeted funding. Indigenous Education Councils are responsible for approving of planning, spending, and reporting. This is intended to provide members of the IEC with opportunity to be involved in decisions, because we know that where you spend your money is what you prioritize. So it's important that they are part of approving that planning and spending. How an IEC provides input will be decided at the local level. Next. Capacity funding. This came in springtime for me, and this is my understanding, this is our understanding of it, that additional funding was provided across the province. It was 5.7 million or something was provided for capacity building for Indigenous Education Councils. That could include administrative support, including covering costs of holding meetings and travel, secretariat support, including agenda setting, technical support, meeting space planning, facilitation, And the IECs are responsible for approving the planning, spending, and reporting for that capacity funding. So our district will have a certain amount allocated for that. Boards will consult only with, there's certain things that only local First Nation members will be sharing, and that's how to reflect local languages, cultures, customs, traditions, protocols, and histories into learning environments, how to integrate local worldviews and perspectives into learning environments, and integration of local First Nations worldviews and perspectives must be prioritized. The board must consult with the full Indigenous Education Council. So that's if there's more members that are part of the IEC, they would consult on recruitment and hiring of Indigenous education staff. And that could include, even if somebody's hired with a role in supporting Indigenous education or any of that work, but it's not hired by my department, they would still be consulted. The IEC, the full IEC would still be consulted on that. Any activities or resources related to September 30th, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, or June 21st, and professional development for the district, which would include the district has one day a year that's to be targeted to Indigenous learning, worldviews, and perspectives. So they would be consulted on what that could look like, what that should look like. Next steps. For boards of education, reviewing the Bill 40 legislation, the IEC order, all the fun reading, the IEC policy and the terms of reference. We were just given the terms of reference in August. So the IEC hasn't had a chance to get together and look at it, but that will come. Boards will work with First Nations to designate representatives and discuss additional members to be appointed, and to align the IEC membership and operations with that legislation and order. Next step for First Nations, to consider who to designate as members of the IEC, working on the terms of reference, as I mentioned earlier, consider capacity funding spending, and look at targeted funding for this upcoming school year. And I think that's where we're at so far. But you might have additional.
Like we said before, it's going to be a lot to learn, and really reading that Bill 40 is going to be really the start of everything. And I'm almost thinking of looking at it like it's very not unlike Truth and Reconciliation. You've got to probably pick and go through the parts almost a few at a time, because to try and trump the whole thing would be paramount. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure it would be achievable. You'd be going off in all sorts of different directions, but to read and understand, even get a grasp on the bill is a big step anyway. To read, this is what we have to do legislated to the school district, not by us, but by the province of British Columbia.
Yeah, it's a monumental piece of legislation. Exactly. And I think taking it one piece at a time, or a couple of pieces at a time, so that everybody understands that impact to you and to the school district and to our children, that is certainly, I think, a premise or the lens that I hope the Indigenous Education Councils would take going forward, because it's a big deal. It's big stuff. So to do it quickly, or selling it short, thinking you understand, I would continue to ask the questions. Always ask. It's never hurts to ask, for sure. And this is new for the whole province, for sure. This isn't just us on our own. You'll have contacts. Katie will have contacts with other directors of Indigenous education as we grow and learn how to take all this information and process it so that it really benefits our Indigenous students on the ground. And I know we come from a good place. I think we've come from a good place in this district. So that kind of work hopefully will just be more enriching and forward looking for our students. So thank you very much.
And for the school board.
Yes. Oh, most certainly. Most
Yeah.
certainly. And trustees, do you have any comments or things that you'd like to pick up on from? I know we are going into the Education Committee of the Whole with this, and that gives us a little more time. That's the nice thing about the Education Committee of the Whole. It gives us more time with a little more relaxed surroundings to just, banter things about. So this is not work that certainly ends today. This is just the very beginning, for sure. Trustee Young.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that all Indigenous people are included in this, because that was one of my concerns when I first read Bill 40 and UNDRIP and how that language kind of changed from the federal documents to the provincial documents. So I'm really happy to see that. And yes, I agree. We need to take it kind of step by step. And I'm looking forward to your leadership in that, Katie and Chief Rakalma. Thanks.
Okay, seeing no further hands, thank you to you both for, oh, sorry, Carol.
No, it's Barry. Barry's got his hand up.
Oh my goodness. I'm getting still from summer holidays, can't see the screen for all the hands. So, Trustee Kurland, and then I see Ms. Edwards has her hand up as well. So, Trustee Kurland.
I just wanted to thank you for coming tonight. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Patty Edwards. I can't see you on my screen, but welcome and thank you for joining us tonight from Snohomish First Nations. And you have a comment.
I just want to say hi, Sepka, to Chief Rakalma and to Katie for bringing Bill 40. As stated, we are new to this as well, so it will be an interesting thing. And the intention behind it is not to exclude, but to be more inclusive. And I want to emphasize also that language and culture is one of the things that it only belongs to here. It doesn't, for this particular, for the Qualicum and Sanawas, there aren't lots and lots of books and lots of things you can refer to. And you have people, like Chief Rakalma that come, can come in person and be part of that. It's not an exclusive, it's an inclusive. And what it does is, I think the intention is to ensure that the language and culture of this particular area is not forgotten and lost along the way.
Yeah, thanks, Ms. Edwards. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah. And wonderful to have you join us tonight. Thank you very much for joining us, and please stick around for the rest of our business if you wish, but have a pleasant evening otherwise. We have a nice sunny evening ahead. Business arising from our minutes, trustees. We had an agenda item of board meeting schedule brought to us by Trustee Austin. I think I have heard some feedback, definitive feedback from Education Committee of the Whole, that they would like to stay on the same day at the same time. And I believe policy is going to stay, Trustee Kellogg, with the same time on Mondays. Trustee Young, were you not expressing any differences to our previous routine? So in summary, okay, I'll turn it over to Ms. Austin. She can elaborate further, but I haven't heard anybody who's shifting our scheduling at this point. So Trustee Austin. You're on mute.
First of all, I just wanted to thank people for considering this. I think it's always worthwhile to look at our structures and see if they're working for us, if there's ways we can tweak them. I suppose I have a question, maybe, or a comment or a suggestion, that you're referring to the present chairs of these committees, and is that the idea that perhaps the chairs of the committees have a say on when these meetings are held? Because I'm not sure if we're all going to be continuing as chairs of these committees or if we'll be shaking it up this year or not. But if we do, I mean, would those chairs have the ability to make a suggestion to move the meeting?
We have on our agenda tonight to present those committee representations as well as representative to other boards and things like that, to then have a final and liaison schools as work of the board to consider over the next month, whether anybody wants to change. I don't want to put folks on the spot now because this can come forward, but I have not heard anyone at this point that wants to move from their present committee of the wholes, but I would not want to assume that. And so if in chance that over the next month, before we look at the full list of liaison schools and committee representation and things like that, a new chair comes into any of those committees, I'm sure we as a board could afford them the opportunity to share if they want to have a different day and a different time to the board to discuss. Julie? Trustee Austin, sorry.
Well, if you don't mind me continuing, I'm just wondering, because when we left it at the end of June, we were also going to ask staff to consider it. And I'm just wondering if staff has had an opportunity to consider it, if they're fine with the present schedule, or if they had some other thoughts.
Superintendent Jory.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the time, staff's quite flexible. We're fine to go ahead with the present schedule, and we're absolutely happy to accommodate whatever it is that the board comes up with within reason, of course. But if it means stretching the day or moving around, we're certainly able to do that.
Thanks, Superintendent Jory. Trustee Young.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, I just want to clarify, I don't care when the finance and operations meeting is. If we want to do it in the evening for a 6-month period, that's cool. To your point, I do want to change things around. I think we're excuse me, halfway through our term, and it behooves us to shift some stuff. So I don't think we've had this fulsome discussion, and I'm kind of like, okay, but you know, let's talk about it. Let's see what we want to do, really. And I think in terms of finance and operations, it might not be a bad thing to have an evening meeting. I don't know how Mr. Amos feels about that, but you know, if we did it at 6:30 or something like that, like the PAC meeting used to be, and we're doing it virtually, I don't see that there's a problem with that. So I don't know. I think we need to discuss it more, and I would like to do that tonight. But if other people are not prepared to do that, that's fine. And I do want to change things up in terms of liaison schools and committees. I want to go over that because I think we're halfway through our little mandate, and it's time for a change.
Yeah, and that discussion I anticipated would be next Thursday at our regular monthly meeting with our superintendent and all trustees to further articulate their views, to then being able to bring back a formal listing of names to committees, etc., at our September regular board meeting.
And that's fine with me. I didn't want you to make the assumption that I wasn't getting changed.
No, I just wasn't going to put you on the spot either tonight to say that you had to do something now or without discussing it with others. So it is on our meeting next Thursday for trustees to deliberate. If everyone's okay with that, and then with the flexibility, I think the trustee Austin has asked that if people shift around and they may have further views on the scheduling of meetings, we try to accommodate that at that time, or at least work through the logistics of it. Okay, so seeing no further comments, everybody's looking to change and things like that. That's great. Update on administrative procedure to board policy 700, safe and caring and inclusive schools. Dr. Jory, this is over to you, pages 19 to 21 of the agenda.
Yeah, so we've been working on this through most of the spring, and as I'll everybody on this call who's been a part of these conversations, been a part of the policy committee. Essentially, when the premier of the province, David Eby, made an announcement about cell phone restrictions, ministry leapt into action and started to, figure out how to get at this. We were called into meetings. We had many conversations, and then what we did is we set about to include this language as it was at the time in our AP, in our policy 700, which is the one that really guides behavior in the school district, our student behavior in the school district, and the AP that supports that through the codes of conduct, and make sure that our school staff were consulting through the spring regarding their codes of conduct, as is that legislation. And so I have made one update in the summer. I got a message from our friends at the ministry saying, hey, you left something out. And so we are not compliant as of yet. And so I kind of shook my head and, phoned the number and said hi. And I talked about the process and how important it is to have proper consultation. And really what it came down to is there was a line in there about the exceptions. Oh, okay. And my description back to them was very simply, listen, we didn't include that in our codes of conduct because we're well aware of the exceptions and very supportive of it in that context, and therefore decided that it wasn't necessary to include that. And the response is, well, you need to put it in to the policy or the AP. And so I said, oh, that's fine. I'll just do that. And so I did that quick revision and then sent it off to them and then got an email back. Okay, now you're in compliance. So business as usual for us as a school district, as far as them being able to tell their bosses and their boss's boss, and ultimately the premier, that all of the school districts now have the specific language in their policies or supporting or attending APs. They can now do that, and that is the explanation for that change in language. I was going to save this for policy committee, but it's on the agenda tonight, so all 25 guests get to hear about that. So we are good, and we are carrying on.
I do have a comment in the chat, and Mr. Eby's just had a flurry of information or headliners in the press tonight saying that all school districts will restrict cell phone use bell to bell. Now that was paraphrasing Mr. Eby, and the question in the chat is, can you please speak to bell? And will there be a message sent out about this at Bolinas and how it will be implemented? So I think that's contained within the school codes of conduct, which come to the board for approval in September. But maybe you could elaborate, Superintendent Jory, on bell to bell.
I mean, he is the premier, and we do work for him. And so when he makes statements, then it's incumbent on us to respond to those statements through our actions and policy development. But what will happen is often politicians will speak in terms that are sound bites, that are understandable, digestible, and that are making the overall point to it, and aren't necessarily a literal change or interpretation. And so what happens, I mean, when he made the statement in January, the ministry staff has to say, okay, this is what he actually means. They'll have deeper conversations with the minister, the premier, the ministry staff, and then try to get that on the ground in a way that's going to be practical. So having not heard a statement today, I can't tell you whether or not that is a diversion. I suspect it's not. I suspect that it's basically a paraphrasing, and that the policy language, the legislation that staff has taken, the provincial legislation has taken staff several months to develop and then publish, is going to stand, and that our local codes of conduct will be intact. And what that means at a local level is each school is going to be working within those guidelines and developing local responses and interpretations that are within that framework. So it could look a little different here or there. It doesn't mean that there's going to be a new blanket edict coming out that changes course. If I hear differently from ministry staff, we'll certainly amend that statement, but that would be what I would think.
And I think from the original information, this was also to be the teacher's discretion in their classroom use of cell phones, which is yet another layer to what can be seen as a not quite a blanket, whatever, as the minister might have or the premier might have stated.
Well, absolutely, and because of those exceptions, including the ability for a teacher to actually invite that technology into a lesson and have it support a lesson, have it support learners that rely on it as an adaptation or a support, for various circumstances, having it be available as need be. It allows all kinds of interpretations that if used well are incredibly important. However, if used poorly, are going to muddy the waters and make it a bit challenging. What I would say about this legislation generally is it's got some positives attached to it. I think technology has been perplexing for a lot of people. I think our kids can, it'll struggle from time to time with the distractions within the school day, but also the stress, the anxiety, the mental health challenges that technology can add to outside the day. And this will empower the system to get more organized, to get more in line, to encourage teachers that maybe haven't stepped into that space and developed good classroom practice to do so. And I think that's one of the positive outcomes. And the second part of this, and I don't want this to be lost, is the need for more learning about technology. And that is part of the legislation. We need to have our students have the understanding, the impact of technology. We need to encourage them to make better choices and not just around critical thinking or interacting positively with one another, having the tools to turn off when things are becoming negative, but also that overall good technology hygiene, where they're able to turn off that device, put it in its charger deck or in a drawer and have a good night's sleep at night. And that is one of the things I think will have the most positive impact. If we can get to that point where kids are making good choices and having that technology put down at night, we are going to be much farther ahead as a result. So I'm hopeful about some of these things.
I did have Trustee Austin, but she's taken her hand down. Your hand down? You okay? Good. Okay. Trustee Kellogg.
Yeah, I just wondered, so will the schools then put out information once they've decided so that families know what that particular school is doing? Because you said each school may do things differently. So will there be something that will go out so students and families know what the expectation for that school is?
So one of the things I think my principals were very clear on in K-7, and of course we have two levels of schools here now. In K-7, cell phones really are not an issue in our elementary schools. And I heard this over and over and over again. Basically, they're a non-issue. Whatever kinds of items pop up, whatever other kinds of events pop up, issues pop up, they're dealt with. Is very, they have a very limited presence. They're not, out in classrooms. And so the legislation essentially doesn't have impact there. It's going to be business as usual. This has been dealt with quite effectively. At the high school, there are more challenges and there will be, different kinds of things that happen day to day. Our two principals have been working together on messaging. And have put together, I haven't seen the final versions, but I saw draft versions of posters. I saw draft communications, some descriptions of the kinds of things that they would like to see, at that high school level. And so, yeah, I expect those things to be shared throughout September and that communication to be good and clear. Most importantly, though, with our high school kids is when we have those startup meetings, when we have those assemblies, that conversation is continuing on in a productive way. It's already started, but to note that here is how we're going to do business at our high schools. And then really proof's in the pudding. It's what are we doing about this? What are we doing about this in the hallway? What are we doing about this in our classrooms? Like, what does that culture look like on an ongoing basis? What are we doing to maintain that culture? That's where the work is. So yeah, I would expect at secondary that messaging to happen. It may be happening in elementary, but like I said, it's such a small impact. I don't think it's going to be top of mind for them, but really it's just going to be the ongoing work that makes this or happen or not happen.
Thank you for that, Peter.
Thanks, Peter. Seeing no further hands, let's move on to Mount Arrowsmith Teachers Association. And I'm not sure I've seen Mr. Woods in attendance. Matt, are you here? No report then from Mount Arrowsmith. And QP Local 3570, I have Mr. Rycroft on my screen. So welcome to a new school year, but I know that all of QP and your many members have been hard at work all summer long with many projects and getting our schools ready and shiny for the new year. So Mr. Rycroft.
Thank you very much, Eve. Yeah, we're looking forward to another school year, getting another set of graduating students out the door, and looking forward to it. There's a lot of changes that have been happening in the district, and I think all of them have been positive. So yeah, looking forward to a new track to be running on in the next, next little while. That's pretty exciting. There's been a lot of changes going on in operations and maintenance, but yeah, looking forward to another school year. I don't have a huge report as we were just getting rolling. So thank you for the time, and just appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Warniak has sent his regrets for DPAC. So on to action items. Mr. Amos will call upon you for the 2025-2026 major capital / child care plan submission, and your presentation tonight for 2 new child care places.
Right. So yes, we're just putting this before you. We submitted the major capital works as of June 30th, and then as of July 1st, a new window for the child care portion of the major capital program opened up, and so we submitted on 2 new ones, or 2 additional ones over and above the ones that we submitted against the 24-25 year for childcare. So just reminding the board that we put in May, I guess it would have been, 2 projects on the books to be approved by the ministry in time. One for Qualicum Beach Elementary School and one for Winchelsea Learning Place area. These 2 that again are being submitted against the 25-26 major capital year, which will have another planning cycle that starts in July, with approvals in principle should we be approved in March. And then what they will do is they'll get back to us for further information, for further locking down. But all we're asking for from the ministry right now is proof of concept kind of thing, recognizing that these are all in plans for now. So for the next 2 that we're obviously submitting as attached, one for Bowser and one for Arrington. So that's what's before you. We put it before the ministry already, and we're just looking for approval from the board as presented with the document as attached.
That's page 22 of your package, trustees. And so could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the 2025-26 major capital / childcare plan submission as presented? Thank you, Trustee Young. Seconded, Trustee Kellogg. Questions, trustees? Trustee Austin.
Thanks, Eve. As this process moves forward, Ron, I don't know what the process looks like and the kind of information that the ministry would want. But the Early Learning Childhood Council of Oceanside, ELCO, you know, is a wonderful resource. And I would certainly urge you to connect with them because they are always doing surveys. And I think they're doing more data collection for this coming year. So that's it.
Appreciate that. Yes. And absolutely. As we do this work, again, the first step is getting our name, if you want, in the queue for these things. And it comes with some set of information. And so with Jill, Sheila, Sheila, the principal of Early Learning, have had conversations, and Phil, our director of operations, and myself have had conversations as we put forth the proposals that go to the ministry. And so we definitely do tap into some of the surveys that we've collected through that table. But as these projects move forward, should we be considered for moving them forward, absolutely we'll continue to reach out to the ELCO table to get some of the data and maybe generate more additional data to support these proposals. But thanks for that.
Seeing no further hands, I'll call a question. All those in favor of the motion? Thank you very much. Carried. Superintendent Jory's report, the provincial update, and district update regarding startup. Over to you, Superintendent Jory.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Flynn. Hello, everyone. It's Squale. Bonjour. I hope that everyone had a safe and relaxing summer here in the Oceanside community. Your friends and family members across the province enjoyed a safe and hopefully disaster-free summer holiday. Well, there were some notable and tragic events in Western Canada, the Jasper Fire being a prominent example. It appears that most of BC had a somewhat easier go than in recent years, thanks in part to a particularly wet June. I had a pretty low-key summer myself. I stayed at home for the most part, tried not to annoy my wife, and was mostly successful at that. She actually seemed surprised when I told her it was time to go back to work, and that was quite nice for a change. In regard to provincial updates, at the top of the list is that it is an election year. No, we're not talking about our friends south of the border, although that rigmarole is certainly a topic for conversation as well. The writ, as it is called, will be dropped provincially on September 21st. We will go through several weeks of interregnum, which means we won't have a fully functioning BC government during this time period. Voting will take place October 10th to 19th. Then a new government will be formed on November 2nd. The message we seem to get every election cycle is to try to lay low if we can during this break period, noting that if anything controversial happens at the local level, that we will be pretty much on our own. Duly noted, we respond in unison. I will also state that with the departure of our deputy minister, along with one of her key assistants, both heading off to other opportunities, that the mood at our recent ministry session in the summer was a little bit down for many, not unlike what is sometimes felt at the last day of summer camp. Some things will be different, maybe many things, and we'll all have to be prepared for whatever different looks like. This year is also a bargaining year for both of our unionized employee groups. Current agreements will expire at the end of the school year, so we will again be forming our respective local teams to look at our local issues, while the provincial tables look at the provincial issues. The departure of HR Director Brenda Paul creates a space for the Qualicum School District employer teams, which will be filled most ably by newcomer Ryan Brennan. Welcome, Ryan, who's already had the pleasure of leading employer bargaining teams in 2 different school districts before joining us this recent August. Another conversation theme from the provincial sessions revolved around rapid population growth, primarily driven by immigration, highly impactful in urban areas for the most part. Overall school enrollment will crest 700,000 in BC this year, with a 3% gain annually hereafter, expected at least. It was shared that 10,000 new people come to BC every 35 days or so, which means 1,250 more school-aged children, 50 new classrooms, 1 admin, and 22 EAs. It's quite daunting when you look at it that way. Still quiet on the local front, though, with some new registrations, but nothing that suggests growth in the Qualicum School District as of yet. Steady as she goes so far. The big topic through the second half of last year was the new provincial cell phone legislation, which is now in force. We've had a discussion about that already tonight. I have shared that language. You have now seen it. Thank you, Ministry, for getting back to me and pushing us to be just a little bit more specific. And our schools, of course, will be activating their updated codes of conduct and making sure appropriate restrictions are in place and that there are new opportunities for digital literacy and tech hygiene learning. I do want to make one comment just based on our previous discussion. The word ban is something that has been used in the media, and it was used right off the bat when Premier Eby made his announcement. And I just got a quick look. Thank you, Karen, for forwarding me the article. And I see it comes up in this article again. As far as I know, and as far as ministry staff, it never called it a ban. That's a word that the media used to kind of summarize it or draw clicks or what have you. And so the word restrictions is something that that I think we're much more comfortable with, because in fact, call it a ban means no cell phones whatsoever. That's not what's going on. There are a number of exceptions for very good reasons. So just be careful when we look at that headline, that may not be exactly what the minister either said or the minister actually intended. Of course, we'll be carrying on with our Feeding Futures program, getting food in the bellies of our students so they are ready to learn. And we will continue to look at additional childcare opportunities to further the needs of our communities whenever and wherever they are emerging, both of these endeavors in support of ongoing provincial mandates, of course. Locally, I'll start by mentioning that changes continue to emerge in our transportation department. The team has sent numerous communications out to families describing the new registration system, the benefits of the routing software, and differences to how we will be doing business. Essentially, parents and caregivers will need to register their rider. That data is being used to design routes and place stops. Then families will be informed as to the location of their stop. This is not the same old just head down to the old bus stop, get on the bus, and maybe sign up later. This is different. Late registrations are now being processed. Remember, we got after it very early this year. Seats and stops will still be assigned as long as space is available. But this series of changes is another step along the journey of a significant overhaul, which after a transportation review, which will start in January, will hopefully result in a much better overall system that positively addresses both service delivery and efficiency across our school district. Summer cleaning and maintenance seems to have gone well. I will be out in schools later this week to take a look for myself. Entire senior team, including myself, was over at Bolinas yesterday morning looking at the change room project, which should be done by mid-September, hopefully, and the Mighty Track project, which should be done, minus the grass, by mid-October, along with a couple other minor and much needed tweaks to the school. I gotta say that track project, and I've seen photos of it and I've seen the drone shots, it is impressive in person. So if you do get a chance to go and stand on one end of the field or the other and kind of take it all in, it's quite an endeavor. We all are looking forward to these jobs being finished and for our students to finally be able to enjoy the changes to school. But yeah, we are making progress. Kudos to the operations team for leading us through this ambitious work. We're still making sure the floors are clean, the lights are on, and the classrooms will be ready for students for next week. In my previous reports, I've often talked about attendance, both related to students and to staff. It has been an ongoing discussion and a frequent source of concern since the days of the pandemic. Principals have been at work in elementary and secondary teams, planning aligned responses across the school district. This is going to mean increased communication, more letters, yes, and certainly more phone calls and conversations. It means supporting the give, grow, and belong aspects of the strategic plan and really getting at the barriers that we hear about whenever we talk to students. It means working on culture. It means accessing the possibilities that our new aligned secondary timetables will bring to the system. It means a lot of things. Some of them subtle, some of them profound. We are on it. In regard to strategic planning, we were able to do some more learning this summer with our principal team. Part of this was a sharing session with our colleagues from Campbell River, who have now adopted the same observable impact planning framework that we've been using for the last 2 years. We will then spend a day working on our focus, selecting which areas of our plans we're going to get that heightened attention. Spoiler alert, you can't be focused on everything at the same time. That doesn't work. And getting much more comfortable with evidence, the information that drives us to move, change course, or convinces us that we are finally there. great conversations. As you know, I was under the weather and but was able to attend virtually and got most of the conversations or most of the learning. And so I was pleased to see and hear what was going on. And we are genuinely excited about the work we're going to do in the coming year. HiSEPCA, everyone, thank you and merci beaucoup.
Wow. So much. Trustees, any comments or questions or superintendent update from, I think I missed who is a second departure from the deputy minister in the Ministry of Education, but I'll find out what that is. Mr. Kurland.
Well,
wow, that was one word.
Wow.
Wow. That sums it up. Great. Thank you very much. And now on to educational updates and our dynamic team of our Director of Instruction, Mr. Terpstra, and Associate Superintendent, Ms. Wilson. Who goes first tonight?
I will, right? Good evening, everyone, and welcome back from a great summer. Just a few quick things of update as we'll explore lots of the education side at our Ed Committee meeting. I just want to let people know from our ministry meetings, the board reiterated the learning pathways, which is really a series of resources to support teachers in developing key literacy and numeracy skills, and really maps out what literate and student, the skills a literate and student and numerate student should have at each level all the way through the system. So there's going to be more development on that, but that's something that the ministry is bringing forward and sort of put in a out of draft form this year. We're also excited to continue our work in core competency reflection and really highlighting core competency and student goal setting and their reflection on those goals as we go. And related to that and connecting back to Superintendent Jory's comment on data, I'm happy to say our assessment and communicating student learning guide is updated for the new school year. Just came out today, and I will send trustees a copy of that via email or Teams. And also we have our communicating student learning plan. That's part of the guide, but it's also on the public facing website. And the last thing I just wanted to highlight some of the learning plan for the district that I know trustees are always interested in. One of the pieces myself, Principal Marin and Principal Gunn are working on is a learning series that we're titling Learning with and from the Local Nations, Developing Culturally Responsive and Inclusive Schools and Classrooms. And that's going to be a 4-part series. It's still in the works. We're still reaching out to the actual local nations and hoping that maybe they'll welcome us to maybe visit them as sites in this series, but there will be more details coming out from that. We have the numeracy learning series again with Carol Fullerton. We had 3 sessions last year. We have another 3 sessions planned this year, including learning rounds. And then we're also again looking to do some work in the middle years with Leighton Schnellert. So all of that is coming up, but mostly we're excited to bring students back and as a education department support our schools in moving learning forward and supporting their school goals.
Wow, that's awesome, Mr. Terpstra. I look forward to the learning series with the nations, a 4-part series, and how that will unfold and what it will entail. That sounds very exciting and very appropriately timed for our work that we're embarking on. Ms. Wilson.
Just a few things from me too. One of the things I'd like to comment on is the benches arrived from our DPAC from last year to all of our schools. They look amazing on the shiny floors that we have, our operations and maintenance department, as well as all the work that Superintendent Jory talked about. The schools look great. I was talking to one custodian today and they were just finishing off one stairwell, they said, and they said it all looks nice and clean until the little patters of feet come. But it looks great, looks amazing. So thank you for that. Over the summer, we have done some work with Island Health and the Ministry of Children and Family Development on our integrated child and youth team. I'm really pleased to announce they're still in the works of negotiating the contract, that we have interviewed and we have hired our team lead. From the team lead, we get to hire all the supplemental positions, which is be the clinical counselor, the peer support. We also, through Island Health, will have an additional staff person that will work with substance use. There will be an Indigenous support person and a family support person, as well as some clerical staff. So a big team there, lots of different kinds of support. So really looking forward to that. Great collaboration working with Island Health and the Ministry of Children and Family Development to look at how we provide support and services for children, youth, and families in our community. So looking forward to the work that we're about to do there. Just a reminder that schools start the regular time this upcoming Tuesday, and the dismissal is 3 hours earlier, with the exception of our kindergartens. Our kindergartens do that gradual entry to school for the first few days, and then the following Monday, all kindergartens will be up and ready and attending school. So looking forward to that. Our elementary schools do the reconnecting start. I know that people ask, what is that all about? And it supports two things. One of them is building culture and connections and that familiarity for students to come back to a familiar face at the school level. And so they do work on that core competences and that reconnecting. The other part is so that we can know whom is in attendance. As Superintendent Jory said, we have our best guess in terms of who is here, but circumstances change for families. We often don't know the families that are leaving us. We hear about the registrations this week, but not the ones that are leaving. And so it allows us to make sure the configurations that we projected in June are the configurations that we have when we come back in September. And so it doesn't have a child going into a classroom and this is Mr. Jory, and Mr. Jory is your classroom teacher. They make that connections that first day, and then we have to reconfigure the school because we have a number of students either attend or are not attending the school. So there's lots of reasons why we do it, but it is good for kids too. It's good for kids, and the teachers enjoy reconnecting with children that they had last year. I want to give some credit to Springwood and to the work that Sheila Morrison, who's our district principal for early learning. They've got the after school program up at Springwood Elementary School, and it's already got a wait list, which is wonderful. So we are looking at that, but we have the after school program supporting families at Springwood Elementary School. So that has after school programs at Bowser, Oceanside, Arrington, and Springwood, knowing that the Arrowview Kids Club through OBLT run the one at Arrowview, and then News has a partner and has a community agency that provides that support. So all of our elementary schools have some, and Qualicum Elementary also has an after school that's run by a private daycare. So all of our schools have that after school component to them somewhere, supporting the needs of families. So welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. The integrated child and youth team has been a project, and now it looks like it's really starting to get meat in the bones, and that's going to be an awesome support system to many of our students, I think, in our community and families for sure. Over to the biggest and best part of the evening, Mr. Phil Monroe and the summer projects update. Boy, I think you guys have been over busy this summer, and we'll turn it over to you to give us a flavor of how busy you've all been this summer.
Thanks, Chair Flynn, and appreciate that. Last year, when I gave this update, was the first year that we decided to have some photos of before and after shots of the work that was done throughout the summer. It was well received, and so we continued with it this year. So I'm going to quickly go through some of the slides here. I'll spend longer on some than I will on others, but there is a few to get through. I won't be able to see any hands up, so Chair Flynn, if you could let me know if anyone has any questions or anything like that. But
Absolutely.
I will try to move relatively quickly through some of these things. So, oops, wrong one. So let me know when you can see that.
There we go. Operations update summer 2024. Head office.
Okay. So what I will lead in with is I've shared this with a few people that are on the call already, but I do know that some people out there will watch the recording and or are here seeing it for the first time. So I am sharing some stuff that that you would have already seen, but bear with me. Okay, so I'll move through this way. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is why it's important to show some of these is to provide context to the school sites when they see, or they might think that there isn't some work happening in their school. There is a lot of work that happens behind the scenes, as I've mentioned before, either in the ground, in this case here at Arrowview, and or in and behind walls, which is typically electrical and plumbing. And they don't get the credit that they deserve. So here was a backflow repair at Arrowview. We had some field issues there at Arrowview. It's got the price tags here of some of these projects in the top right-hand corner. Here in Arrowview at the back, we had some flooding and drainage issues on the field. This swale ditch was completely covered in overgrowth and trees and was causing backlog from the stormwater. So we remediated that. We tried a borderless playground that many schools in Vancouver have been doing. We tried this 2 years ago and it hasn't worked out as well as we had have thought. So this year we put a playground surround around that to clean up Arrowview. We do duct cleaning. All the schools are on a 5-year cycle for duct cleaning. So we've done 2 schools this year. This is Arrowview with some before and after photos of some of the ducts there and the high level cleaning.
Yeah.
Good. Bolinas, for the first time, I think in a long time, we actually have the same colored doors throughout all the hallways. So that was a bit of an effort in itself to finally get to that place because we can only paint them in non-instructional time. Hot water tank at Bolinas went just before summer, and so that was an emergency repair that became a project. And as you can see, a hot water heater in one of the schools is $13,000. Staff washroom at Bolinas. This is what it looked like prior. They were very hard to keep clean and very old. And so these got taken back to the studs, and we are in the process of putting the vanity and the toilets in ready for the teachers. They were gender specific prior, and so now they are just gender neutral, both of them. This one is quite an interesting project that's had a lot of positive reviews, and we really like what it's done to opening up the socialization area at Bolinas. And a lot of this was internal work with our staff. So this is a before shot, so never sprawling, array of lockers, single stacked lockers with cabinets above them. But then we also had this can you see my mouse that's moving there?
Yeah.
Yeah. That bulkhead that's across the top that used to have lighting in it that's no longer used. We took that out, and that's the progress as we've moved through that throughout the summer. And then that's what it looks like now for the students. And so working with the principal there at that school, we're putting some cafe style benches in there to create more seating for the kids. And then with USB plugs, and the kids can sit there. So we're trying to create more seating in these areas rather than just have lockers everywhere in some of the key areas. And then we'll move the lockers to some other further out locations in the school. So that one was quite good. And we'll continue to move through Bolinas and take those bulkheads out as we go through each section. The change rooms, and I know I haven't shared this on here before. It has been shared at Fin and Ops. This was the existing change room. This is our first foray into a multi-year strategy of upgrading washrooms and change rooms, with the high schools being first. So this summer, we're upgrading the change rooms at Bolinas, and that's what it looked like prior. But essentially, what it was in the female change rooms, there was one toilet, one vanity. A lot of the showers were unused. They all had shower curtains. All the showers in the boys just had shower curtains. Very dated, very old. And so we worked with the student leadership group at that school, got all their feedback and all their suggestions, gave it to an architect, and he implemented pretty much all of their suggestions. And what it was removing some of the existing showers. So we have less showers, but more change stalls. Increasing the amount of toilets and urinals. And we were able to do that in the females as well by taking some of the storage space and knocking some walls down and that sort of thing. So Key features of this project is 8-foot partitions for all the toilets and change cubicles, no shower curtains. Where this section here is now a gender neutral change room that is accessed through the gym. So we put a hole in the wall there, and we created a washroom in here for the staff next to their office. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, it's a multi-year project. We'll get to KSS toilets next summer. These are the finishes that are going in. All we've got at the moment is flooring and tiling. And as Superintendent Jory mentioned, this project will conclude end of day, September 18th is the plan, and we hand it back over to the school September 19th. But here's a couple of the project shots. The other thing, sorry, that I didn't mention is these change rooms were not wheelchair accessible before. So we completely took out the cinder block walls and had a mason come in and did a bunch of work, and we've made them wheelchair accessible.
Trustee Kurland, I think, might have a question here. Trustee Kurland.
Wasn't a question. I just really like that logo. It's really beautiful, the logo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's already been stuck down in the flooring. So it's embedded in the flooring in the change room floor.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to look really neat.
Yeah, it's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. This is some project shots that I went past there this afternoon and took these ones. So the tiles all getting down and it's being painted as we speak. What we learned through this project is that whilst the mason was there and the contractors are there, they recognized that there's some exterior walls there at Bolinas. Both of this is into the change rooms where we've taken out a door and put plywood, but the plywood's all rotting and the bottom of the door's rotting. And then over here, which goes up to the mezzanine, that was all plywood. So they were able to block this wall in for us for $6,000 whilst they were already there, and actually fix the envelope issues of the school. So that was neat, just having them there and actually being invested. The gentleman who's running the project there for the contract company has kids in Oceanside that'll be going to Bolinas. And so it just goes to show when you have contractors that are invested in the school with their own kids here locally, they really do look at it a lot differently to contractors from out of town. I'm going to talk a little bit about the project, and I've got a bit of footage here. I'll just play it, but it will take about a minute to play, and I'll talk whilst the footage plays, and then we'll see how that works. You can still hear me, can you?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I just had to mute that music that pops up after a little period of time. So
the music's lovely.
The music's lovely. So as Superintendent Jory mentioned, this project here, the civil stuff is due to finish mid-October, everything in the perfect world happening. The biggest challenge that they faced here on the civil side was this trench drain on the inside of the track. They had to concrete it in place with a certain tolerance, but then they had to go around and do a second. They had to do a second concrete to get it up to flush level. The weather in the last weeks impacted it and slowed things down by about 5 or 6 days. But for all intents and purposes, Haylock will be there on the 3rd of September next week delivering product, and then they'll start paving on the 5th of September. And then we'll have about a 28 or 30-day cure time. And then Marathon Surfaces will come in and do the rubberized stuff, weather permitting, in the first week of October. But that is being dependent on the potential rail strike. I understand that we may have averted that, but it has slowed deliveries down by about 6 days, to the best of my knowledge at the moment. I can see, did someone's hand up there?
Trustee Young?
Yeah. So this is a community track, so it's open to the community, and with preference being for school usage. And of course, being part of the running community now, I want to know, can I run on this track when Haylock is done, like when it's being cured? And when approximately might that be?
No, you won't be able to run on it while the asphalt's being cured. The fencing will still be around it. Marathon Surfaces will come in first week of October, and then I think what the plan is then to move the construction fencing to the inside of the track, block off the field, and then open up the track in mid October. That's the intent there on that
Okay.
one.
I guess I just have to wait a little longer.
Let's run on the beach. It's the same texture.
Yeah.
You've waited 30 years. I'm sure another month isn't going to hurt.
Exactly. Thank you.
No problem. Just at Bowser, we have some deterioration of the paintwork on the outside of the Bowser School. As soon as summer's wrapped up, our paint department will be moving and doing some painting of the exterior of the school there at Bowser. So that one's coming. Errington, hot water tank as well. That was expensive. One of the cool projects there is they used to have a playground that was on a slope and all the pea gravel was spilling out and it was quite dated. We cut into where that was and leveled it, and we're putting concrete blocks there with picnic benches and created, it'll have soft full chips on the inside there. So that one will leak into the school year, unfortunately. Qualicum, we put in some safety rails there around the edge of the roof where our staff go and access these HVAC units, so close to the edge of the roof. It's 2 stories high, and we didn't have any sort of fall protection there next to the building, right next to the HVAC unit. So we got after that. We try to do some of that every year to try and make these areas safer as they pop up. We've been doing ongoing work helping the metal shop there at KSS. They're looking to do more accredited work and work with the universities. And so we've been doing a lot of work to help that metal shop program there. And our capital year started April, right? So some of these that we shared with the schools, we got after in the springtime or just before summer break, and we were able to remove that old dilapidated basketball court at Qualicum Secondary and return it to just a flat area where the school can now work with the PAC and the community on creating a healing garden is what they're looking at doing. This is some of the lighting, and these are really good ones to show the schools when they think they didn't get much. Is we have to get scaffolding, cost us nearly $10,000 to get these lights changed to LED because we have no other way of getting to these stairwells or ramps. And so we did a bunch of work like that throughout the summer. There was an old room at KSS that we converted back to a classroom. This one, they wanted a new vice principal's office in the front building. So there was a lot of space in the administration area at Qualicum Secondary. So we built a new office there so that there was another spot for the second vice principal to be in the admin area. And there's still lots of room for the clerical there. This one is an existing room that had an old dated kitchen, didn't really serve the purposes. It wasn't being utilized to serve the students or anything. And we have converted into a fully functional kitchen so they can run a foods program out of Qualicum Secondary this year. So barring everything's ready to go there, just electrical's got to run some power drops there. Once the foods coordinator's on site, our electrical department will work with their foods coordinator to see where they want the power drops.
Oh, that's cool.
Nanoose, we just did some maintenance there on the fire access road, and we went to the where we installed a tankless hot water system there. Quite a project, $20,000 for the hot water. So we've had 3 hot water systems go in the last sort of 3 or 4 months across the district, and yeah, they come with a price tag. Oceanside, same sort of thing, scaffolding, getting after some lights in the stairwells. They got a new scoreboard. Their scoreboard was broken, and they got a gym curtain so they could run 2 PE classes there in the gymnasium. That comes at a $42,000 price tag to get that. They haven't been able to run 2 classes in there for the last couple of years. And then just some catch basins around the school. Not too many more here to go. Qualicum Beach Elementary, we got after this in the spring. We did some duct cleaning there and got after that one. Equally, we've been trying to remove some carpet. So each year, so in spring, we removed the carpet in the administration office and made the world a difference, and staff feel less congested when they're breathing in. So that's been well received. Changed some lights at Springwood as well with the scaffolding. And then we've already purchased 11 new basketball hoops and stands that are here, and that's happening in the fall. So September, October, Springwood's first, and then the front of Nanoose and Qualicum Beach Elementary is where the basketball hoops will get installed. Winchelsea, and this is a credit to the accessibility committee, they came up with the fact that we don't have an accessibility ramp at Winchelsea, particularly since we moved the DRC. So we internally did that project and put in an accessibility ramp. In preparation for the track, we had to get these football trailers moved, and we've sort of put them into a sort of little compound there where they're out of the way. And this feels like it was forever ago, but this was in preparation for the track to remove the old DRC. So those portables had to be moved. New roof for Winchelsea Learning Centre, that was at 480,000. That's in the final stages of getting that done. And then just onto all sites, this is a shout out to all the custodial team. The work that they do, I know everyone notices it with the shiny floors, but it goes a lot further than that. They have to remove every piece of furniture from all the rooms. They scrape off all the gum underneath the tables. They wide the bottom of the chairs. They get the schools back into good working order, ready for the school year. And so that's a lot of the work that they undertook. Equally, in a more limited capacity to last year, we had the works crew throughout the summer, and we funded that through AFG. We had about 1,000 hours, and here's just some before and after shots of the work that they do that we just wouldn't be able to get to. And this is around KSS and a lot of the overgrowth that we have there. Last couple of slides. These things are always part of our summer plan. All the different maintenance aspects, from fire alarm system inspections, servicing our generators, hazmat inventory updates, playground inspections, and we continued installing security cameras at all of our elementary schools. And these ones will be progressing into the school year, the change room, track and field upgrade, and a few of the ones that I mentioned through there. We'll also get to some of the line marking in the parking lots and some of the crosswalks throughout the district as well. And then this one is the last slide. And often we're on a bit in maintenance and ops. We continue to just go through, do the work orders, do the projects. As soon as these ones are done, school will be back in session next week. We'll get lots of work orders. And we sometimes, have to remind ourselves to stop and look where we've been and look back. And I was driving past Bolinas through the summer and chatted to Trish about it. And these flagpoles went in summer last year, and she'd mentioned to me like it was the first time since she'd been there that the pride flag had flown and hadn't been vandalized, because it used to just get hung up over the front of the building. And so, it's those sorts of things that we talk about internally of, when we forget about some of the things we did last year. On that, I just want to say thanks to all the maintenance team that did the work throughout the summer, the custodial team, and the management team, Mike and Brant. They collected all these photos, and it's a painstaking jaunt to get all these photos, collect them, put them into slideshows. So thanks to those guys for pulling that off.
Oh, Mr. Murrow, I'm exhausted. I feel exhausted. I have had a request though from a person in attendance. Can these slides get put up on our website so people can have a look and appreciate all of the projects, and maybe not in attendance tonight, but hoping this can go up on our website so people can have a look, because it's a tremendous amount of work. And please extend our heartfelt gratitude as well to everyone who, wow, pulled together on a lot of things. Still some things to happen for sure, but we're spick and span and ready to go. I have Trustee Kellogg first, Superintendent Jory, and then Trustee Kurland for comments. Trustee Kellogg.
Yeah, Phil, I just wanted to say, as a trustee, I feel so excited when I see all of the projects that your maintenance team has done. It is so exciting. It's going to be great for the kids. Yeah, I just thank you to all your staff. They've done a wonderful job, and they're so appreciated.
Thank you. I will pass that along, and appreciate the kind words for them. I'm sure they appreciate it.
Superintendent Jory.
Yeah, absolutely. Would like to echo those sentiments. And it is incredibly important that this work gets showcased. I think that the summer work, especially, in addition to the ongoing work, sometimes just if people don't notice it, then it's not brought to their attention. You know, they just maybe assume that it's not getting done. So it's great for us to call attention to it in a board meeting. We'll do a constant contact at the end of the week and get some of the photos out. And maybe what we'll do is we'll link that little article to a webpage where we can put the balance of the photos so people can go and really see what's been going on across the district. So that's very exciting.
Yeah,
Perfect.
super,
Good.
super coverage of the district. That's just wonderful. Trustee Kurland.
Thanks. So Phil, you know, I don't want to be the the stick in the mud here, but you know, I've seen it from the other point of view, and which is I'm really concerned about the you know, those aerial drone shots that you have. You know, I've mentioned this to you before that you know, some of those things are up at circuit height, and it would be a disaster if somebody ran into one of those drones. And I don't know whether, you know, we can get a NOTAM when he's going to fly or something like that, but it is a concern. You know, I mean, you know, from flying and seeing an eagle whip past your windscreen 100 knots is kind of eye-opening. And you know, if somebody hit one of those drones while he was up there, it would be a disaster. So I don't know whether they can just get a NOTAM to say he's going to fly at certain hours, or to get a box of airspace or something. You know what I mean? I know you do.
Yeah, no, I do, because I've lived that world. But I in talking to the gentleman that's doing that footage for us, he's fully aware of the fact, and there's certain times that he's not able to go up and do it because I asked him for some more photos. So I haven't got into the nitty-gritty of how he is, what he's doing to make sure he's following all the rules. But I'll certainly poke and prod and ask him some questions. But I trust that he's doing as much as he can to play by the rules.
Okay.
He's mentioned to me he can't. I've asked him for some more photos, and he said he can't get up there because of those reasons.
Okay, even if he has like a handheld VHF or something like that to advise aircraft. Anyway, thank you. I'm glad that he's at least aware of it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Trustee Young.
Yeah, my understanding is this is not an employee of the board. This is a community member that's providing this. So
That's right. Yeah, I know that.
Yep.
Yeah, but we like to make sure they're abiding by. Most of these drone people, you know, have to be certified now. It's getting to that place where there's a lot of training that's required to do it. But
oh yeah,
thank you for that point. That is a good point to raise. Thank you very much, Director Monroe. And please, as many of us have said, please extend our thanks and congrats to Ops and Maintenance for a big summer, and a couple more projects come up here in September, October. Can't wait for the track, but let's take every day as it comes. Supply chain issues or not, we're going to see this one to the bitter end for sure. Finance and Operations Committee meets Monday, September 16th. Policy Committee of the Whole meets Monday, September 16th, unless otherwise something happens. Education Committee of the Whole is Tuesday, September 17th. Hoping folks can join us for these very important meetings. There are no trustee meetings or unfinished business or correspondence. Trustee Austin, I see your hand up.
I was just throwing it up because are you getting to trustee items?
Yes. Well, there's nothing there on trustee items.
I know, sorry. This is just a quick one. I just wanted to give a really quick heartfelt shout out to the departing DPAC, who has spent the summer building and distributing benches to all our schools. I think it was put up briefly in our chat, but I just wanted to say that and acknowledge that, and what a wonderful gift. And thank you very much to our departing DPAC.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Trustee Young.
Yeah, just to highlight the fact that these are pride benches. So it also speaks to inclusiveness, and that I think supporting all of our students to be safe and secure and welcomed in schools is important.
Thank you. And Angel says, thanks to the QSD team, Qualicum School District team. Yay, everybody, all around. So, public question period. Are there any questions from our members of the public in attendance? I don't have a full screen of everybody, but seeing no hands, I will ask then for adjournment, and then trustees, we move into a special board meeting for our annual elections of the chair and the vice chair. Could I have a mover to adjourn the meeting, please? Thank you, trustee Kellogg. This is a public meeting. People are allowed to stay, but definitely trustees need to stay, and Mr. Amos will be conducting our elections commencing now. Over to you, Mr. Amos.
Thank you, former chair Eve. Thank you very much for your service this year once again as we go into another year of your mandate. Just to remind folks, yes, this is a public meeting, and yes, it is part of the board structure that speaks to Board Bylaw 2, which talks about the annual election of a chairperson and vice chair of the board. And so within their bylaws, obviously, they've got a prescribed routine. You can see before you the agenda is has all of 6 items, obviously. So I will call this meeting to order as we conduct the elections of the chairperson, vice chair, and then deal with some of the administration thereof. Okay, so, and just to remind the public, because we're meeting on Teams, what we've prearranged, as we did last year, is for the trustees, 2 things that they will that we'll interact on. The one is the calling for the nominations, and what I've asked them to do is text me as the Secretary Treasurer conducting the meeting, their nominations for the chairperson. And then likewise, once we have the nominations before me, I will announce if there's going to be an election, how that will work. But in the meantime, the elections will be done by texting. I will conduct the first one, which is going to be the chairperson. The new chairperson will conduct the second, which is the vice chairperson. After each one, we will ask for a motion to delete the electronic nominations. And just so you're aware, what I end up doing is I delete those texts so that I can't retain them, as it were. And then what'll end up happening is they for lack of a better, they get destroyed, not to be returned on my texting. So that's how it gets conducted. I will, again, at the front end, so we go to item 2, which is the election of the chairperson. I will ask of the trustees, the 5 trustees, if you want to text me with your names for nomination for chairperson. Just waiting for one more. Okay. Right. So call for nominations, first time, second time, third time. Everybody's clearly put in their nominations. One name comes up. Eve, will you accept the nominations before you from all 5 members?
Yes, I will. Thank you very much.
So,
thank you, fellow trustees. I appreciate your support.
Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to be handing it to her in a second. The election is now called. Thank you very much, Eve. You have been acclaimed, as it were, to be the chair for another year. Thank you very much for accepting that. I'll finish this off and I'll hand it off to you.
Because I haven't got the agenda in front of me. I left my lap.
Fair enough. So yes, I just asked, call for a motion to delete the electronic nominations and election ballots. Not that there were any. First Young and Kellogg.
Seconded.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Thank you very much. Now we'll hand it off to the new chair. Thank you very much, Chair Flynn.
Okay, same process as before. Call for nominations for vice chair to be submitted to Mr. Amos via text. If trustees would go forward and send your text in. Mr. Amos, you'll have to keep the clock on this one as to
yeah,
when you
yeah,
have.
I'm
Yep.
just going to let you know. I'm
Yep.
going to send you a text so that you can announce.
Okay.
Over to you, Eve.
Thank you very much, sir. We have a full slate of nominations for Carol Kellogg as vice chair of the board. Carol, are you willing to accept this acclamation as vice
Yes.
chair?
Yes, I would.
Thank you very much. This is awesome. And I would though like to thank Julie for all trustees who've stood as vice chair. It's been wonderful for people to stand in this position and take on the new role. Congratulations, Carol. And could I have a mover and a seconder then to destroy the electronic? Trustee Austin, Trustee Kurland, Mr. Amos to destroy the electronic text. All those in favor? Carried. Now I vaguely remember signing
sorry.
authority.
Banking resolution.
Banking resolution. That.
You want me to read it?
Yes, please. I left my iPad. iPad.
No worries. And I was chatting with Karen about this. We only need it when we have a change in chair and vice chair, which we do.
Yes.
So I'll read the recommendation that the chairperson, vice chairperson, secretary treasurer, and assistant secretary treasurer for the Board of Education of School District number 69 Qualicum be authorized to sign the banking resolution in accordance with Bylaw 4 banking.
I have a mover and a seconder, trustees, for this resolution. Thank you, Trustee Kurland. Thank you, Trustee Young. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, everyone, as we embark on the last few days of the sunshine, hopefully a little more sunshine so that track can get completed. I thank everyone for their support and welcome Trustee Kellogg to this new role for her, and I'm so pleased that she stepped forward. And do I need an adjournment from the special meeting? I guess I do. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Sorry, just in following up, and I know you mentioned this before, but the last item was the discussion for the committee and representatives, but you did touch on that earlier in terms of that is yet to be determined. Next week, I think you're going to have the conversation. Yeah.
Yes, we are. Yep. So Trustee Austin, you have your hand up?
No, that was my comment since it was on the agenda, just to remind people we will be discussing it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Move to adjourn, someone please. Trustee Kellogg, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for this evening. Exciting times as we start the new year. And we'll see everybody soon, maybe in person, which hopefully will be sooner than we think. And thanks, Mr. Amos, for running the elections. Happy evening, everyone. There's a little bit of sun left.
Bye.